There you go.
Wow.
Face so that the camera can get
Exactly
Wow.
that. See, she knows. She knows.
Amazing.
Cameras
Alright.
and microphone.
This is too much.
Wow,
Alright.
2 things. That's big.
We good?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to do a little clap. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome back to the
Bonjour.
Full Circle podcast.
So excited.
Two.
Okay,
Yes.
say it.
I'm going to give you a great
Yeah, it's
intro
gotta
here.
be good.
I'm waiting.
EDM,
Oh.
content,
Mm.
gurus.
Ooh.
Wow.
Join us on the podcast today. You're not happy with that? What
I think the word EDM is just a bit, you know.
Mm.
music,
that way when you
You could have
said
done
it.
better.
music, content, gurus. Join us today on the podcast.
Yeah.
That's
There we
the
go.
I'm
spirit.
feeling
That's
that's
limitless.
There you go.
Yeah.
All
Music
of
by
music.
Lucas, Lawrence Edway. Welcome.
Oh, I love when
Welcome.
they say when you guys say
Zed.
Lauren Zed
It
Ray.
feels so good.
Do you need the Z or not?
Well, I do.
Well, we just
but
say
I
Lauren
say
Z Ray.
Oh,
And what's
right.
really
Yeah, 'cause
funny
we're American,
is
I
a
guess.
lot of people also think her name is
Lawrence.
Lorenzi.
Or just Lawrence.
Ooh,
Or
we spoke about
Lawrence.
that last time we met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you add the Z? Is the Z part of your middle name or something?
It
Yeah.
is. It
Right.
is. Yeah.
It's
I
just
feel
a
like
random
Lauren
choice.
Ray is an average name, but we put the Z in
I'm
there.
the same. See, I'm the same. Mine, so Daniel Lee, but I was
Right.
like, add a J
J.
in.
Mhm.
See, you get it.
Yeah.
We've got
Wow.
Lawrence Edway and Dan J. Lee.
We
real
need
real
it.
acronyms.
What about
right
you, Sam? Do you have a middle?
Sam Mason. I have.
What's
G.
the-
G.
Okay.
Oh,
But I don't-
Sam G.
Sam G.
Sam G. It's Samuel George, which I think is about as
Oh.
British as I can
I was gonna
possibly
say
get,
that feels
yeah.
so British.
It really does. Welcome to the podcast.
you.
Thank you.
It's crazy that you guys have come all the way from America just to be on this podcast.
It's insane.
I mean,
Yeah.
You know, the
24
fact
hours
Thank you
that
so
you
much.
guys paid for the tickets.
Yeah.
You paid for all the food.
And the
And
first
they-
class
we'll-
was the first class
yeah,
good?
and we're gonna
Oh, man, it
we're
was
gonna
amazing.
send you the invoice later.
That's
No
fine,
worries.
yeah.
Right now, let's not talk business. You
Yeah,
know
we
what I
won't
mean?
talk business.
Yeah.
But no, for real, you're in the middle of traveling
Yeah.
as you guys are well versed in doing such
Yes.
things.
But
Content
for
creating.
years, though,
Yeah.
the traveling stopped, and I think that now we're actually just kind of feeling it again. And we've been talking about how we're feeling the buzz, like everything from the smell, the way the streets look, the sounds, the
Yeah.
whole thing.
It's
It's
yeah.
just it reignites because we were on the road for years and
Yeah.
then COVID and then now back on it. And so yeah, it's like we're like, oh, and we're feeling the bug. Like we've already started to look at like, oh, where do you want to stay in the future and stuff like that, and like thinking it's tough too because you want to go to new places, but you also want to visit those places. Like we just went to Brighton. That's one
Nice.
of our favorite
Yeah.
places.
Love Brighton.
Yeah.
Brighton's got a lot of airtime on the
Yeah,
podcast.
we've mentioned Brighton a lot, yeah.
There's been a
Wow,
few
shout out
mentions.
again.
It's some really intense
London
content
on the
there.
sea,
Yeah, London on the sea.
Yeah.
Where else have you been around the past few months?
We went to Greece, Athens, and Santorini.
Yeah.
We want to see more of Greece. There's actually so much
Yeah.
to Greece.
Yeah.
And it's like, you need a long time to see it. But it's also that feeling of like, let's save some of it for later too, because then you can go back,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to do it all at once.
Well, we're gonna speak a little bit more on the sort of the traveling, remote work and stuff later
Yeah.
on. I want to touch on like TEAMMBL,
Ooh, yeah.
the content stuff that we spoke about on,
Yeah.
on the intro there, and of course music. But I think the best way to kick it off is to take it back to the very beginning.
Yeah.
Either of you can feel free to
Yeah.
take this. Where did it all start, and where did the idea for, I guess, first of all being a producer and then this like
Oh,
content
man.
spur come from?
Yeah, you should definitely start with
Go
your
way
production.
back?
Way back
Oh,
at
way
the
back.
beginning.
So my whole family was involved in some sort of music. Everyone kind of had their own instrument. My dad was actually a DJ.
Where'd
but
you
more-
grow up?
Oh, in Los Angeles.
What a
So there you
surprise.
go.
There you go.
I did like some movies when I was a kid. I was in-
really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
in the
he
movie
was-
The Grinch with
He
Jim
played
Carrey.
Willie. You gotta
No
pick-
way.
Yeah.
If you watch The Grinch, you will see Lucas. I mean, he's only like 9
We need
years
to
old,
snip.
but-
They need to snippet this.
Well, the
needs to
scene,
go
if you
forward.
want
We
to know
need
the
see
exact
this.
scene where you can actually like see my face, that
Because
would be.
he has like a front row seat to this.
yeah,
thing
it's the
when
scene where the Grinch is a little kid and he's in school, and they have like
Wow.
the mini Grinch.
Yeah.
And
Lucas straight up makes fun of him. So like when the
Laugh at
Grinch
him.
comes with his beard shaved off, Lucas like points his finger and he's like, like a psycho.
I was a
Yeah,
hater.
It's really good.
Yeah,
Wow.
wasn't.
He did steal Christmas, so that's fair.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, I knew that ahead of time as a kid,
Yeah,
so
you
I was
saw it
already
coming.
yeah. No, but also took dance classes and did all kinds of stuff. But music specifically, everyone, like I said, had like their own instrument, and my brother already took the guitar. So because I originally I was like, the guitar is the cool thing, you want to play guitar, but no, there was a piano that like no one was using, and it was this piano. It's like a Korg. I think it's called like a Korg Triton. It was back in the day. It had like a little sequencer in the middle where you could actually like put a track on top of a track and basically create a beat. And I was actually just starting by I was taking piano lessons as a kid, but I was more interested in playing like the theme to Mario than playing, like whatever the song was that they were trying to teach me.
Yeah.
So, or like the Legend of Zelda theme or something like that. Because that would get the most, like you play that when you're in Sunday school or whatever, and all the kids would like turn like, oh my God, he could play Zelda. Like I'm freaking out. So I started with that. And then got into hip hop and started messing around making beats. And I actually got a tape recorder, and like one of those ones from like Home Alone, you know?
Yeah.
And me and my friends would like pretend like we could rap and make some beats and stuff like that.
You have just sparked a memory. So the last time that us three met,
Yeah.
I think was about like 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
I think, is there something of you rapping
Yes.
somewhere?
Yes, then we
Yeah.
used to
Yeah,
show
yeah,
you
yeah,
some of his
yeah.
old stuff and dancing as well.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
serious content.
Yeah, yeah.
I've had a journey with music. And so, yeah, it was like messing around turned into trying to reference other beats and trying to make it, like I said, everyone had their thing. I decided this is going to be my thing.
Yeah.
Because not only did I enjoy it, but people were starting to be like, hey, I love that you do that kind of a thing too.
Yeah, well, tell them about like MySpace.
Oh man, see, it's so much to
Yeah,
tell.
because
but
it's like your first community you built.
when MySpace was hot, like when everyone was using it, I started putting my beats on there. This was before people were even doing that, and I started to trend on because they had like the MySpace music charts, and at one point I was the 7th biggest music MySpace page. Now the thing is, it got deleted and hacked because back then there was no such thing as like 1Password and 2-factor authentication and all this stuff. So my password was probably just like some
Lucas.
5-letter, thing. And so it did get hacked and I had to restart. But the cool part about the MySpace story is that I took, because my dad's DJ company, they had like contracts they would give to clients.
Yeah.
Well, I decided to start my own business back then at like 15, I think it was. And I got one of the contracts and literally just changed out the name of his business to mine. And I was like, and now I'm going to change the price to whatever, I decide. And I was selling beats. And it was so funny because the way it worked was like people would literally mail a check to me and then I would give them the beat. And I don't
they
remember.
found you on MySpace, right?
Yeah, they found it all through because I was on the trending chart.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the big way. And all kinds of stuff that I learned back then, like that you have to put watermarks on your beats because I wasn't, and people were ripping them off the site.
Yeah, sure.
And just I would hear them using, and I get 15-year-old me would get so ticked off. But of course, so there was that, and then
What was your transition into like electronic dance music though from
this
rap?
is a good one. She's gonna help so much with me.
This is great. I can sit back and not see what we've got today.
I
This
forgot.
is great because we have. I think we said this last time that we met was like we have very similar energy of just being able to
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah.
So I think
Me and
it's
Sam.
actually going to be a co-interview here.
I
I
thought
just-
it was really good how we sat. I really thought that
This
was
is an
good.
attack. There's an intention.
Yes. I love it. So yeah, where was I?
The transition
Yeah,
from
see?
rap into
Need it again. Okay, so yeah, so I really started to get into artists like Deadmau5 and Tiesto's old stuff, Armin van Buuren, Above and Beyond, and I remember that no one where I was from in LA was into this stuff, at least not that I knew. Everyone, and they still do to this day, it's mostly a hip hop type area. But I was really starting to get into this and just coming up, trying to make house music and stuff like that. And coming up with weird like hip hop and house music, like variations and stuff like
yes,
that.
I remember.
But there was also long breaks in between music because there was points where like I started to get a little bit older and it was like, what am I going to do? Am I going to live on? Because I like lived on a friend's couch and like I did the whole, like I went through just trying to scrap together, like eating Pop-Tarts and, top ramen and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
and it was right when we met. Actually,
Yeah.
you were like really into starting out doing like electronic dance music, and
Yeah.
I was in LA because I wanted to be an actor,
Yeah.
and so that's when we first met, and we realized that that wasn't really sustainable.
At least
because-
we didn't know.
we-
See, the thing that's
okay,
funny is
yeah.
if we would have started TEAMMBL back
Yeah.
then, like it would have, I think it still would have totally worked. But the thing is, I don't think that I realized the power, because even back then I was like, this is funny, but I was like anti-social media.
Yeah.
He was
I
very
was
adamant about it.
I was like excited that I didn't
Yeah,
have an
he
Instagram.
didn't.
or
Oh,
a
you're
Or
one of those cool
Facebook.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I'm not
how
into
he
that
was.
Instagram stuff.
Very
Yeah,
intense
no.
about
Let's
that.
say
Yeah.
that to Dan because Dan's been chasing a blue tick for the past 5 years. Man.
That is ruthless.
Thanks.
We need to
get
get
one.
Thanks for that.
We need to get someone on Instagram
Yeah,
real
we
quick.
need to get
them.
There are plenty of people you could pay $5,000
Honestly,
to.
Isn't that what
I'm
it
pretty
is?
sure one of the previous guests actually promised it to me. They were like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I know someone that knows someone."
Really?
Yeah, never got me.
Never make promises.
If you're watching,
Yeah.
get him that tick.
Right?
Come on.
Whoever gets Dan the Tick gets a full album release on NCS.
Oh, that is
Ooh,
good.
wow.
Charlotte says,
Wow.
Charlotte,
Yeah, Charlotte
can we
make
promise
a
that?
decision on that.
Is that possible?
Yeah, that's a no.
No, that's a no. Okay.
So we were at you two have met.
Okay, yeah,
And then
exactly.
how it moved. Then I guess
It's so funny because
you've
I
been
feel
sort of
like
chasing.
what's really funny is
Yeah.
I feel like I'm even rushing through this because I feel like there's still so much, like the journey has had so much involved, and
Yeah.
I think that's part of the
Yeah.
reason. And I probably will jump back and forth on things, and you guys will have to
No,
keep
you're all
me in
good.
line with this. But it's like I think that's a big reason why why Team MBL succeeds now is because of all that knowledge. So a lot
Exactly.
of times you look back and you're like, man, what if I would have made it then? Like I said, like what if we started Team MBL, back then? And it's like, well, there's so much, and it sounds cheesy, but it's like we've been there, done that. We've
Yeah.
started so many businesses.
Yeah, especially you and I, like in
Yeah.
our journeys of going after like very impossible dreams, like
Yeah.
an actor in Los Angeles, somebody who's into music. It just seems impossible. So
Yeah.
you go through a lot. I think,
So we were.
chasing
So
dreams
I'll
like
just.
that.
And there was also other things that I did too, like modeling. Like I was
Yeah.
on. I was the guy for Abercrombie.
Yeah,
and
he was
Fitch
like
on-
in the
on
stores,
walls
like when
and
you would
stuff,
walk in the
and
stores, he
posters.
was the model of
I
the poster
did.
a few times.
I did
actually.
runway in Paris and Milan.
Your
Yeah, a whole
CV
bunch of
is
stuff.
Is-
in the early days. It's very
Yeah, it feels
extensive.
like you're like 45 years old. Like, how have you done all of
55 at least. No, it's like, but yeah, it's like a lot of journeying and realizing like what I liked and what I didn't like, what I was doing for other people or what I was doing because other people told me I should,
Yep.
and what I actually, enjoy.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big thing with music too, is, the electronic music was the big thing that was really pulling me.
Yeah.
And so, so we worked the
So,
regular day
yeah,
jobs.
you got a job at
Yeah,
the bank,
at the
and
bank.
I got a job at the hospital. So I know a lot about the medical industry,
Yeah.
banking industry now, which is helpful.
Yeah, and I moved up fast at the bank too, and
Yeah.
had a good job, and wore the suit and did the whole thing. I even worked in near Beverly Hills, in a place called Brentwood, which is where O.J. Simpson used to live.
Oh man.
Yeah, classic times.
Yes.
I did a lot there, and the thing is, the music started for a while. I thought that the music was some hobby. Like I convinced myself, and I think a
Yes.
lot of artists do this. They convince themselves that music was just some hobby that they, liked, but it wasn't necessarily the thing that they're supposed to be doing, like their fallback plan or
Yeah.
whatever. And then it started eating at me more and more that I wasn't doing music. And I remember specifically the moment because it was so like, how like they talk about how you have that one moment where everything changes. So for me, a couple of my friends and I went from the bank, went to Las Vegas, and we went to go see Tiesto play live, and it like literally like almost brings me a
That's
little bit
so
to
good.
tears now,
Yeah.
which is crazy, but it still brings the emotion because I remember I was standing right there. I remember just being dumbstruck watching him do what he loves, get the crowd involved and do music and I saw the crowd and I was looking back and forth, the crowd to him, and I was starting to realize like I don't want to not have something I do be with music.
Yeah.
And I really like I was looking at the person, like I said, that inspired me for electronic music in the first place. And the craziest thing about that story too is literally just a few years
I
later.
think it was to the day 2 years later.
Yeah, he signed my track.
Wow.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's cool.
And I
Yeah.
remember
That's really
I remember he even announced one of my tracks as well that he supported and said music
He
by
said
Lucas
his name.
on the radio show, and I remember that moment too.
That's so cool.
And
Yeah.
the thing is, like, it was funny how it was the hardest time in, like, the busiest time in my life that I decided I was going to do music because, I could have done it before when I didn't have a full-time job. And I was also going to school at night school. So, and I also had an hour and a half commute every day.
Jeez.
So
Round
I chose
trip, 3 hours.
I chose
Yeah.
that moment to decide, hey, I really want to do this music thing again. When it wasn't like I could be like, hey, work, I'm going to do
Yeah.
part-time now. No, it's not
But I
possible.
think sometimes it feels like circumstance and a moment like
Yeah.
that. You
Changes everything.
Yeah, you have like it's sort of an epiphany feels like a cringe way to say it, but it's sort of
Yeah.
like, okay, that's 100% what I'm doing.
Yes.
No matter what else is externally happening, I'm gonna
Yeah.
make this work no matter what.
Yeah.
And if I remember, correct me if I'm wrong again. Did you like took a selfie or something on your last day, right? In the bank
Yeah,
or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, I think I remember.
took a
this.
video on my last day, but there was months before that because I think what a lot of people also
Yeah.
assume is that when I just made that decision that I was going to do music, that I just said I'm quitting my job and
Yeah.
I'm doing this, but I wasn't in a position where that was like feasible.
course.
Yeah.
Because I had already had, unless I was gonna, I don't know how I would have done that, but it's like I decided that I think also there was a lot of me that felt like it's fear of taking the all-in plunge.
Yeah.
So even though it was almost like a tiptoe, trying
Yeah.
to see. And the other thing is we had no idea at that time what Team MBL would be, and we can talk about what that is,
Yeah.
but it's basically our community. We had no idea that would become the focus because I think in the beginning of that moment that all I could see in front of me was the fact that I wanted to do music and I wanted to be where Tiesto was in that position. But I don't think I realized all the things that would come from that, like I said, the community and helping other people
Yeah.
grow and potential of now all the stuff we want to do in the future. social media. Still at that time, you know, it was like I'm anti-social media. And I remember when I started my socials, it was like very like, you know, just like a little picture here.
Well,
and
that's
there.
where the
Yeah,
that's
let's
where
move into
part
this,
2
'cause
happens.
This is a good one.
So he comes back from Vegas and he tells me like, "No, I'm serious. I want to get back into music." And what I said was, "Let's go."
Yeah.
I was in because I was already like dream chaser. He was a dream chaser.
Yeah.
Together, we were like, let's do it. And so as an actor, I was looking for ways to make it in the industry as well. So I used to go to these conferences of how to become a YouTuber. Oops, sorry, YouTuber. And this was way back then before like influencer was like even a thing.
Yeah.
And these conferences were very like technical. It was like, oh gosh, no, I just want to know how to like become a YouTuber. Well, Lucas
Like
said,
back end YouTube.
yeah, it was like really a lot, but it was really good and very informative, and actually helped with why our channel, I think, did so well at the beginning, because I already had this knowledge. So when he came back, I said, well, you know, you need to get a fan base, so you have to get on social media, and we need to start a YouTube channel. And Lucas
I was
said,
out.
no. He said no to both. He said, no, it's about music.
See,
my music will be good enough.
And this is why I laugh now, or like I know the answer now when artists tell me that same thing. Because so many of the people that I coach or that we work with, or just artists that I talk to, they tell me like, oh no, I need to focus 100% on the music right now, which makes sense because at the moment you think, if my music's not good, you know, what's the point?
And
of
there's
everything
nothing
else?
wrong with that mentality, because if
Right.
that like you say originally, that's all that you see. But then
Yeah.
once you get the right people around you, you like grow this team, you get knowledge from different places, you realize, oh, in the culture and the age that we're in, there's actually more to it than just making a track, which is maybe in some cases a sad thing compared to like back in the day, but also it's super exciting to be able to like,
It
I'm going to
is,
build my
yeah.
brand here.
Yeah.
Do this here.
Yeah.
It
and-
feels, sorry to cut in.
No,
I
no,
feel
I
like
wanna hear it.
like I almost feel like brand versus music has just become like, it's almost like brand has become more relevant
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
You know, there's very rare artists that you're like, all right, I just absolutely adore
Correct.
music, but you
I
haven't
don't know anything
seen the
about
brand.
them. Yeah, of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
There
It
are
feels like-
artists like that.
Yeah.
What's funny though, and this is the one thing that I say is that I feel like if those artists also had the brand though, boom, you know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah, exactly.
Because at the one moment you're like, you know, I don't give a crap about their brand. Like their music is so good, but it's like, man, can you only imagine what they could do with the right brand? too?
Literally.
Yeah.
yeah.
So we're at the start of like part 2 now, where you
Yeah.
both made a decision. Okay, we've got these passions that we
Yeah.
want to follow. How do we then turn this into a lifestyle? And
It
something
took
that
a
we
yeah,
live
it
off?
took a while
Yeah.
before I was able to quit, and I was doing a lot
Yeah.
of work, just anytime. Like I'd be in the car watching a
my gosh.
tutorial in traffic.
Yeah.
Lucas literally, and it just makes me so emotional to think about it, but you did all you could all the
Yeah.
time.
And it wasn't necessarily even that great for my mental health at the time.
No.
Because I also kind of felt an imposter syndrome too, because
Yeah.
I knew that, you know, I was working at the bank. I didn't feel like I was that real artist. I didn't feel like I was signed. And I think a lot of artists go through this too. And they don't even like, for example, they don't want to post on social media because they feel like, who am I to do that? I don't even have any signed tracks
Yeah.
yet. But the reality is that if you build the community, the people will be there with you along the journey to that moment. And when you achieve that moment, they'll be so excited for you and they'll all be there for you. Whereas what most artists do is they wait until they get to that moment and then they post about it and there's no one there that knows why they should care.
Yeah.
You know, no one saw them struggle. No one saw them grow to that point. No one, and now all of a sudden they're like, oh, maybe I should just do ads. But again, ads don't create emotional connection like that.
Yeah.
You know, maybe there's a couple ads in history that we look at like that, but it's like in general, promoting your Instagram post is not going to make people feel this emotional bond to you.
Right.
That's a really good point.
How did you go from like, because you obviously had two very different dreams.
Yeah.
Mm,
I'm interested, like, how did you
that's a good question.
how did you go like, all right, cool, well, you know, you want to focus on music, you're focusing on acting, like how did you then realize, oh wait, if we do this thing together where like we create something together, we both build each other
Well,
up.
she'll
Like that's
say
what
it.
you've done. Like
She'll
it's
say it,
awesome.
but the one thing that I wanted to point out is that I think both of our dreams shifted from the original reality.
did.
So she was thinking acting, I was thinking focusing solely on my own music, and then those things as we grew and progressed shifted into what they are now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think, and this is how I convinced him to start the YouTube channel. It's like, I know video, I know how to do this. Like this, we're the perfect pair.
Yeah.
This makes sense. And so that's how it started out for sure.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, at the same time the YouTube channel started growing, my acting career took off. And I started booking television and commercials. And so I was feeling success in that area. And this might be relatable to people in music as well, but as soon as I achieved the dream or was starting to see success, I realized that, oh, me dreaming of being an actor, was it really that I wanted to be an actor? What was the actual dream now? Because as soon as I was on set, hair and makeup, got to do the acting, felt like a real actor that I always dreamed of, I didn't feel fulfilled at all. I didn't really love it. It just wasn't what it was. So I had a reevaluation of that as we were building TEAMMBL.
Yeah.
So, and then as we were building TEAMMBL, you had the realization too, I think, of like, I am loving helping these people out and doing this YouTube channel. And that's how TEAMMBL actually started, was we saw like a lack, I guess you could say, and you can speak more on that.
Yeah,
actually.
we saw a lack in, well, the first thing that I saw a lack in was artists that needed just to talk to people, they needed support, they needed, like, there was tutorials, and there was places like Spin and Talent Pool where you could upload your track, and there was SoundCloud and things like that, but there really wasn't a place for people to get genuine feedback, or for them to be able to try to be involved. So we just started dabbling in that and trying different things. And I feel like it was one of those things where we just tried anything that came to our mind. And that's kind of how it started. And we tried not to like make rules or like put walls up. It was kind of just like, let's see what happens. And we stuck to the things that we liked the most. People started getting really excited about it. Like I said.
I do want to say though, before I forget, and for you to mention too, is that Lukas was not, yes, he did modeling, he did some acting or whatever. He was not good on camera.
No, not at all.
He was not good at...
You should go back and watch, like, if anyone wants to know, go back and watch, just go to my YouTube channel and go to the oldest videos and watch those.
The amount of times I cut camera in a sentence, like Lukas would be like, and next is new slide. The music
well, we had a complete script. We had a complete...
I had to like feed him the lines and he could like not even... I mean, it was a nightmare at the beginning of our YouTube channel.
Well, also we were filming the videos at night after night school, and after a full day of work.
It was always around midnight or 1 a.m.
So we were so
filming.
tired, and then also we had like we were doing all kinds of other stuff at the same time. Like we had an Airbnb downstairs.
I think I had like 6 jobs at the time, honestly, because
that's how it is in LA. And you're probably the same in London.
Yeah, probably. I always wanted to get out of the hospital situation. That was just what I had to do to make money. I actually started an acting, I guess, coaching school sort of thing, where I coached actors for television. So people would come to me for their auditions, and then I would coach them, and then they would, it was just word of mouth, because all my clients like worked on like the biggest TV shows. So people were like, who do you coach with? And it would be like this random girl. So I built like this huge client base for like 3 years. So I think that also helped, because when we started the TEAMMBL like membership, I already knew what it was like to work with clients and to coach, people and stuff. So like we said, all of this builds on each other, and it really helped to have all these jobs and go through all this, because it just helped to I think, make what we do now a little bit easier, I guess, in a way.
How has the dream changed then? Like, you know, you've kind of shifted, but like, I guess you're kind of achieving a lot of the things that you want at the moment. But what's like the 10, 15, 20 years?
I love it.
Like, where's that gone to now?
I try not to think that far out, but I'm constantly inspired by, like, one of the reasons why I love traveling is I love going into small businesses and seeing how they operate, seeing the way they design stuff. That, like, when I walk into let's say a coffee shop or something, instead of just being like, I want a coffee, I don't know what it is about me, but I'm like literally like scanning the layout of how the customers walk in. Okay, where do they place product? Okay, how do they have fonts?
Why have they done these?
Like, how are obviously customer service, all these things.
You're very salesy then.
Well, it's like the whole customer experience in that way, because it's not necessarily about the sale, because if you have the right customer experience, the sale will be there. So to a certain extent, I get kind of grossed out by the sales techniques that are very the ones that are very corporate-ish, but it's like almost one of those things where it's almost like what you guys do with NCS as well. It's like you create the community, so people want to be part of NCS because of the community, but what you're doing is good. So I don't know about the sales part exactly, because
it's more like the journey, right? Like what that person's experience.
I absolutely agree, and I think he hit the nail on the head, and I was going to say that too, which is like for you and for me both, like when Lukas and I talk about like our manifestations or like our goals, like we think and talk about this every day. It's always like, how can we make people's experience of life that much simpler or more beautiful?
Well, also because we're constantly working on ourselves too, with mental health and all that kind of stuff too, and when we experience something good, we want them to experience it as well. But it's like I don't know. Yeah, my dreams have shifted all the time. I mean, when I was a little kid, I definitely was one of those people who was like, I want a Lamborghini and stuff like that, because I grew up with like very little money. And when I realized that as I was getting older, I realized you don't actually want that. You want that because you lacked that. You felt like you needed it to be full, but you didn't need that. So now what do you want? And so I think that also, I guess, yeah, what I was trying to say really is I'm just constantly brainstorming. So the 10 to 20 to 30 year plan, I feel so excited about the fact that I don't know what it is.
That does excite us very much. And like for me personally, I love doing what I can with TEAMMBL, and I've shifted even within that. I used to do, I would say,
oh, she did so much work. Well, we have,
I would say like 80% of all the back end and all the work of TEAMMBL, but we've been able to like either get someone to cover that or figure that stuff out. But my film career, like my last film that I did so well, and I'm actually filming a new movie now. Films maybe, or more collaborations together. Definitely TEAMMBL stuff.
I think collaboration is one of the biggest things that we are excited about.
Yeah, we love it. We love collabing together.
I think like from hearing you guys speak, then it seems like from the start to where you're at now, the main thing that I've noticed in like from just you speaking is there's that shift of right, here's what we want to do. Yeah. Here's the thing that we're chasing. Yeah. And then you realize, like Dan said, once you brought the skills that you both have together, you actually can keep chasing those dreams whilst also being a complete platform where anyone else that is in that position back where you were
associates with exactly
to be like, here's
so
where
many
you
people
go.
that want to do what you are doing or somewhat like it, and you're showing them how it's possible.
I think and it is possible, and it's more possible now than it was. So that's the thing, is a lot of people, we talked about this before, think there's more competition, it's harder to make it, blah blah blah, but it's actually getting easier. And one of the things I'm most excited about is the fact that it's becoming easier for people to make money off what they love through social media, through different avenues, and things like Web3, things like NFTs. Those are just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, even like things like Instagram, they are paying, if people don't know, up to $8,500 a month for Instagram Reels. So you have to apply. You can go to the Facebook Creator Fund and apply, but there's other things you can do to make money too, like Instagram subscriptions that are coming out.
Note of that one.
Instagram subscriptions are coming out where you're going to be able to, basically they're trying to compete with Patreon in that way, but what I'm saying is all of the social platforms are competing with each other to be able to get the creators that matter to their platform, because they know that the creators value being able to make a living off their creations.
Of course.
And so the only person that wins in this scenario is the creator, because all these companies are just going to be flying more and more things in front of you, and you don't have to have a major audience to be able to make a living off of it, because you just need, they always say like, 1,000 strong fans or whatever, but even that, you don't even need 1,000 in my opinion. If if you're trying to make a living and you can get, a couple hundred people to,
we spoke about this earlier, right? Of like, when there's these massive communities, if you can actually find it actually seems backwards if you don't understand it, but a smaller amount of people, but being completely dedicated, that's more. It's real, right?
How would you advise like people starting? Like I know there's probably lots of people that listen that might want to get into like content creation. I myself, I want to do content creation. Like this for me was like the first thing that was like, I'd love to do a podcast, but I couldn't justify doing it by myself because it was a bit uncomfortable. Yeah. But then it's like
this guy.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Went, who do I know that can talk?
But then it's like, how do you get past that sort of barrier of like, you haven't got many followers. It feels uncomfortable. Like, is it just push through?
Well, I'm not going to say it's not tough, because it is
and
tough.
That's why I mentioned earlier that Lucas was
struggled.
on everything.
I think the key thing, obviously you're going to push yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit, but I think the key thing is to figure out which platform works for you, but to also be open-minded, because I feel like you're going to change. Like you may be like, I can't live stream right now, I suck at it, but maybe a year, like I couldn't imagine myself being able to do this podcast a few years ago because I couldn't even read one line off the, you know what I mean? How would I have done it? And also I think your confidence increases too. But figuring out which platform works for you, I think is very important. And then trying to just try things. Like the problem is, I think most artists, this is I think the biggest issue, is most producers look at what other producers are posting and think that's, especially famous ones. And they're like, that's what I need to post because they post it. But the problem is a lot of people who are really famous, like let's say we're talking about The Weeknd or David Guetta, whoever, they don't need to do all the
They
reels
can post something with the word hello and get tenfold because of the person
So then
they
other
are.
artists think they need to do that, but they don't realize that if David Guetta was at their position right now, he'd be posting reels. There's no way. And so that's the problem. And they don't know who to go to be able to find this stuff out, which is why we try to do the best we can with giving those kind of tips.
Exactly. And Lucas actually just came up with a new series that's going to come out on his Instagram Reels, which is he's going to teach people how what not necessarily like what not to do, but you're going to show people how they can easily, as a music producer specifically, can make Reels easy and make content better on their social media.
We're talking a lot about Reels because they by far are one of the best ways to grow. And it's not just Reels. When we say Reels, because that's what we post most of the time, it means TikTok. It also means YouTube Shorts. So you got YouTube Shorts, Reels, and TikTok. And one of the coolest things about that is if you can make one of those, you got content for 3 platforms like that. And, you know, you never know which one's going to pop off, because in my experience and seeing other people, sometimes you'll post something on Reels that won't do very well, but you post the same thing on TikTok, boom, or the same thing on YouTube Shorts. You never know, you know, what's going to happen. But it is a struggle sometimes when you at first are caring so much about how many likes it gets or what the reactions are. Because like we talked about before, people just want a reaction. So when you get no reaction to something, that can be really tough. But, you know, it's one of those things where you have to remember most of your posts are not meant to do well. And if you go to any big, like let's say TikToker, for example, you're going to see that they have pop-off posts that do like tons of views, and they have ones that like have 3 comments.
They're spitballing, right? They're seeing what lands. And you have to keep
you have to. And I get DMs all the time from people because they know me and Lucas are always talking about Reels, and they'll say, oh my gosh, I posted my first Reel and I got 1,000 views, and they're so excited, and that's cool. And I always respond, I'm just proud of you that you tried
that you did the Reel
to do a Reel.
That's cool.
The views, because I'm so scared that they're just, when the next one doesn't get those views or something, like they won't get that excitement. But it's
well, as artists, I think there's a lot of problems with rejection because music is such a creative, put yourself out there thing that when you do get rejection, like for example, a lot of the artists that are anti-label is because they got rejected by a few labels, and now they're just that you create this mentality, and I did it too. Where you're like, they're just going to say no.
Right.
So why even send it? And so that actually happened to me with the track so my very first track that got signed by Spinnin' Records. I remember that I only uploaded it to Talent Pool at that point to check a box, because I had uploaded like 5 or 10 songs before that. They never commented or anything, even though my track was #1 on the Talent Pool chart or whatever, got the most votes, and I asked all my family members and everyone to vote on that track. And so I just uploaded it there literally as like, I'm just going to upload it to check a box. And yeah, they emailed me the next night. Like it was not even in the top that time. It was like 900 and blah, blah, blah on the chart. And they emailed me asking to sign it. But that's the thing, is you never know what's going to happen. And so, but we put up those walls, just like with Instagram. You post 3 Reels that don't do well, and all of a sudden, you know, I'm never posting a Reel again, or the algorithm hates me, or I'm shadow banned, or, you know, whatever it is. And I can tell you
that
from
next one you put just hits and does
you
10
never
times
know.
anything.
And I can tell you from my experience too, that with followers, like I'll have it where, you know, very steady followers are coming in, and I'm posting Reels every day, and then all of a sudden the trajectory goes down, and I'm not even really gaining any followers for like a couple weeks, and I'm doing the same stuff.
Yeah.
I'm still posting.
So unpredictable, isn't it?
It's unpredictable in that way, but the key thing I think also is to just enjoy what you're posting. But even that is a problem, because a lot of artists will be like, well, I don't enjoy Reels. Yeah. So
well, I think in terms of the content, you guys have obviously found at least how to attack it in the correct way. I think we should zone in onto a bit of music. Let's talk. Let's play some tracks, Dan.
Yes.
And then I'd love to get you guys' opinions after about like sort of, you mentioned it then, but like the label stuff, how to present yourself as an artist, those kind of things.
So I'm going to play some tracks that are coming out or come out this week when this drops.
Nice.
So we've got a track by Raptures called Spark.
ooh, I love Raptures.
Yeah. So Raptures doesn't typically do
I was
drum
going
and
to say, if
bass.
you've known about him for a while, this will be quite
Raptures is actually a TEAMMBL pro coach.
Hey,
so
wow.
I love Raptures.
Yeah, so this one really shocked me when it came in.
It's a cool tune.
I'm obsessed.
That's so cool.
I just never expected that from him.
Contrast and sound selection. I mean, the back and forth parts of the two, and I think also the minimalism of that drop. Yeah, you
I find it's crazy on that, like how it's still really heavy, whilst there's not really loads going on there, but it's still really heavy. Super cool song.
Then so Thursday, Starseed and Cafe Disco Innocent came out, featuring Michaela.
Starseed means there's going to be some nice melody.
You said this on the last.
Did I say that on Tozoki?
Exactly.
Oh, that's great.
There it is.
And I was right.
Yeah,
That's a cool guy. That's quite minimal.
ear candy, baby.
Yeah, very sweet.
Beautiful.
And then Friday, the Kajama EP drops.
Ooh.
So
Big ups, big ups, big ups.
you know what? I'm gonna play Alone by Kajama. It's got a really nice build. That's a good bit.
Previous guest on the podcast.
Yeah.
Ooh.
This is sort of like UK based.
Yeah,
I would
very
say.
UK.
Oh, this song was
So
off.
would this land in the States, this kind of thing?
This, well, in the right club.
Yeah, I was gonna
right.
say.
But
the same.
it would go off.
So like gritty,
yeah.
that's what we said last
Yeah,
time.
it
It's
is.
like very
Very
like
gritty.
raw.
Yeah.
What keeps you guys so excited? Because you guys been doing this for so long with NCS in general. What keeps you so excited about new music? How do you not just go
Good
on autopilot
question.
and
I think it's when it like sounds different, when it like really catches you off guard.
Yeah.
For me, is like whoa, especially when we're going through so many demos. Like it has to be something weird and different.
I love weird.
Me too.
Yeah, like well, not that this track is weird, because Everett Maxwell, I love this track, but there was this track that like completely threw me off guard, and it starts like this.
Oh yeah.
Are we
Like you're in
Brighton?
Brighton.
Yeah.
I love the organic.
Oh my god.
Yes.
You just wouldn't have thought.
No.
Get to the drop.
Now I'm in the
Fast
Highlands.
forward a bit.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and see, these are the artists that dare to try something different, even though, because there's so many artists, it comes from that fear again of there's no label that will sign this.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, and I feel like the only problem is when you put so much of your, future into a, thing that's not yours to begin with.
Yeah.
Like you're like, let's say you make Slap House because Slap House is popular, and no, diss to that, because some people who really love to make it. But it's like, if it's not you, after a while, you're just going to constantly be switching genres because you need, and there's a lot of artists like that, even some
Yeah.
big ones that play a lot of live shows, but they're not, doing this. Like, how long can that
You're
last?
just chasing what's hot, right?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah, and there was a lot of that. Like, I think around like when we guys first met, like a few years
Yeah.
ago, like the sort of future house scene. It was
Oh,
very much
yeah.
like Brooks came out with that sound,
Yeah.
and just everyone copied it. At that
Oh, yeah.
point. It was just a complete like scene. But
Which I guess it's a tough thing as well, because I think I spoke about it on an arcade interview with Exod, I think, and he was saying that when he started out, there was a lot of that sort of emulation, and he would like try and sort of find the sounds of like these DJs that he loves. And like you said it earlier, with like the inspiration being this massive DJ when you go into shows, etc. And I think it's really hard whenever we speak on these kind of things, because there's not necessarily a wrong or right.
Yeah.
Because you're probably making this sound because you absolutely
You
love
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean that you're doing the wrong thing, but I think you're right. There's also the flip side to that coin.
you've got to be a bit. You've got to be a bit unique.
You can't
and
just
have
copy, right?
something. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Carry on, Dan.
Then so I've got upcoming track from Simbai and Frizzy the Street. Set Me
Ooh.
Free.
I really like their last tune.
Fast forward a little bit. Hang on.
Oh wait, I was ready already. I was ready to do the bass face.
Just let me be.
His sound design's so cool.
Yeah. I love that gut.
This is great too because it would work for a show and for like a lounge.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah.
Multi-
We could podcast to that song. It'd be really good.
Exactly.
And then
I could see
last
that in a
one.
vlog too with like a drone shot.
Yeah. I saw the drone
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah.
I did. I saw it.
And then-
Anyone else do that where they close their eyes sometimes and they're like
Imagine on the
imagining?
drone.
a
Oh,
music
I love
video?
doing that. I
Oh, it's so
love doing that.
fun.
Yeah, we get a lot of like sync requests, like where it's like it'll be like, we need a scene for a car going around the corner
Mm-hmm.
of a going really fast. And I'm like, oh cool, I can find a track
so
for that.
fun.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
really
yeah.
like
I
that.
love that.
And then the last one I will play will be
See, and that's an example of you never knew you'd be doing that. Like,
Yeah.
Did you know you'd
So
be so
true.
excited for sync requests? You know? So cool.
then last
Can't
one.
wait to pick a song for this car driving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna play.
That's kind of me with my films and like my YouTube videos and stuff. It's like when I'm looking for music, it's very specific to what I need for
Yeah.
a certain scene. So that's how
Yeah.
I listen to music.
Even down to like the individual sounds. Like you said, then, that little hey or whatever the vocal was. It's like finding those little moments that are gonna align with the visual.
Yep.
Yeah. Then we've got Born and Aria One More Try featuring I'm Alright.
Very emotional.
Yeah.
Like it.
Oh, I'm all right, sick. I really like that. He's got a great voice.
How can I love when I've been hurt 100 times? For you, I give it one more try.
So this is my fave.
Of
But
course.
this is my style of
Really?
music. Yeah.
Like
I knew
future,
Lucas
future
would.
bassy sort
She
of.
loves that.
He always is like, hey, listen, because I'm not a producer and I don't know the genres, but Lucas always knows when
what
I'm going to
she'll
like a
like.
song.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
We should start that. We should start that. You should. I think you should be able to pick up when you know that if I'm gonna like
Yeah.
a song or not.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, you guys have both been surprising me lately. Like, Charles was talking about some tracks that she was like into, and I was like, I just never would have thought you'd have liked that.
Yeah, a
but
lot of drum and bass.
You've been loving
like.
the D&B
Yeah.
recently, yeah.
There was a girl on the train that we took from Brighton to London that was listening to some very loud drum and bass.
Yeah, she was.
It was like,
She was raging.
Maybe
like
it was
we could hear
Charlotte.
it over the train. Yeah, we could hear it over the train.
Yeah.
It's probably just Charlotte in a flat. It was so loud that it was
Probably.
going all the way to the train. All right, cool. So we listened to some tracks. I think it would be, like I said before, good to get your opinion when it comes to presenting yourself as an artist for labels, etc. There's obviously the side of content creation and having your brand, but I think production-wise as well. Is there anything that you could
The
sort of
whole thing.
speak on?
Yeah, the whole thing is about organic growth, and meaning like, how are people finding you without you having even to like, I think a lot of artists, what they do is they just try to contact the label and hope that they'll reply. But at the same time, if you're doing collabs, even if they're unsigned, if you're getting tracks supported, if you're producing tracks that are getting people's attention, if you're making reels that are making people like a
Or
lot
if
of
you
times.
have your own radio show.
Yeah,
supporting.
these are all what I like to call your assets that give you leverage. So, for example, with me, when I'm going to talk to an artist, there's so much more I can do than just be like, hey, here's my USB. If I wanted to, it's like all these things I could invite them to do, just like you guys could invite, for podcasts or for different types of things. These are all different assets for you. And I feel like the more that you have, or even just, you don't even have that many, but they're strong, I feel like
Right.
then the labels start to notice you, or they start to be. And
That's
not that,
interesting.
yeah, and not that you need to sit there and wait for them to sign you, because you can still go after them. But it's one of those things where like you could go after them with a bigger collab, or with a bit, or an original vocal instead of a splice one, or like a lot of artists are like, how do I get vocalists, to work with me? And I'm like, dude, if you can build, I call it making it a hit before it's released. But it's like if
That's
you
so
can
good.
build the momentum,
Yeah.
and be like, go to the vocalist and be like, hey, I got this track with so-and-so who has this many monthly streams on Spotify, and have a vision behind the track, not just some random thing, but it's like, oh, the song's about, this, and it's gonna be really catchy because of this. And now all of a sudden this vocalist is seeing the potential and isn't just thinking, hey, I need to charge these guys a fee. Like, cause a lot of artists are just getting, they're either getting the vocals on Splice, or they're paying, the vocalist straight up, but they're not getting the vocalist to feature.
Yeah.
Now, once you have all that set up on the track, now you're going to the label with a freaking, monster, and they're seeing the potential. It's
You're
not
coming along with a brand as well. Like,
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's important to have? Is it important to lead with the brand first, and go, hey label, this is my brand and here's my track, or is it, here's my track, by the way, check out all the other stuff I've got going on? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think
I almost feel like they all work there could be, it depends on the person, but I almost think like they all work in a circle. Like they all bring in more to what you're doing already.
yeah.
And I always think like that, like if my brand succeeds, that helps my music. If my music succeeds, that helps my brand.
Yeah.
But also maybe it depends on the label too.
Yeah.
Because if that label specifically, I don't know why you'd even want to work with them, but if you notice they don't really do anything on social media, then maybe you wouldn't want to lead with your brand.
Exactly,
But
yeah.
if you notice that they're really big into that and you could do, mutually benefit, then that could also be a really good way to lead too.
I think what's really interesting with both of you, aside from just working collaboratively, I'm really struggling to speak today.
Great.
Because you think I'm a host of a podcast to be able to talk. Working collaboratively together on these journeys, but then sort of expanding your web, whether it be through TEAMMBL, through people that you know, through anyone that you're connecting with on the music and the content side.
Yeah.
I think you've got to a point now where you have this sort of like roster of people that you can go to whether it's
That's
the little
amazing
producer
too.
tips, you know what I mean? Why do you think, first of all, building those connections are so important, and then how is the best way to utilize those connections when you have them?
And I was actually going to go back because it leads into
keep
that.
going, yeah.
But it's like, also to answer your question, I think if I was speaking from the one you just asked, I think I did lead with the brand first every time because of the fact that a lot of times I thought it'd be better to instead, like I said, of just going in with the USB, to go in with an interview. Because like, for example, I did the collab with Steph DeCampo, Push, and that's my biggest song to date. And the way that really happened was the fact that we invited him for an interview, met through a Discord event, and supported his tracks with no, by the way, intention. I wasn't like, I need to collab with
that
this
was
guy.
just building a connection.
No.
Yeah.
And honestly, we just finished a YouTube video, just like, let's say we just finished this podcast, and he was like, any new tracks you're working on? And I remember I showed him the ideas because I was like, I don't know. Like, I just was like pulling up ideas.
You just like showed him Push, and he took his hand to the little speakers that Lucas used to travel, turned it up, and
started
jammed
jumping
so hard that the
lady
neighbor
upstairs
came
came
downstairs, banged on the door, and like yelled at us.
Yes.
But again, that just comes back to there wasn't an intention there of like, how can I leverage this person?
And that I think is the thing
that's
too.
the real thing. Yeah, it's just genuine connection.
A lot of the industry in the world is who you know.
Right.
It really is who you know, and I suppose building that brand means more people know you. You then build a relationship with them, and then it might by chance that happens. It's like, oh, yeah, I've got a track, so let's just do it.
I always say that if you're both producers, obviously the topic of production is going to come up eventually. You don't have to force it, and there's nothing gross or like like you're like sitting there like you're planning out this plan.
It's less pressure for you as well.
Yeah.
And I think what was very helpful is that Lucas and I both come from the industry in Los Angeles, and it's very like that.
We don't like it.
And we never liked it. We noticed it didn't work for us when we tried it, so that was helpful too, I think.
I don't think you have to be fake these days. And I don't think you have to, and this is another thing for artists out there. It's like, I don't think you have to just follow trends. I don't think you have to be fake. I don't think you have to do any of that stuff to succeed. I feel like that's really good news for people. But I forget what your question was.
Well,
that was leading
to be honest,
it.
you're sort of speaking on it then about actually these connections and people that you've met in the industry. My point being was like, and you've answered it there about it's actually about genuinely liking people and talking to them, as opposed to being like, let me sit down with this person and 15 minutes in ask them how we can collab.
People are see, when you do that, and I used to do that at first, oh my gosh, I used to do that at first, and it was made the conversation so awkward. And you could tell, and this is what I say is like, sometimes I feel this when I talk to people at ADE and stuff, I can tell that when they say that part at the end, that the whole thing was meant to get to that part.
I hate that.
It kind of invalidates everything that came before. It's like, just the thing is, people in the industry are so freaking nice. Like, and if they're not nice, I don't think that's going to last very long. It's such a small community. As much as people think it's all, intense, like, and there's so much competition, I feel like it's such a small community.
Everyone knows everyone. Honestly, everyone.
Yeah. At least somehow.
Well, I think that can just sort of link onto the question that we asked then about if we're speaking to new artists now, and they look in, you spoke about the getting the content, how to approach the label, building those connections. What is the right way? Because I imagine if you're at IDE and you want to get your song to someone, without thinking, you would sort of be like, right, let's run over to Dan from NCS and go, hey, good to meet you. You're really cool. Here's my USB.
Well, that one's funny too, because I feel like most people hand their USBs to the artist when they should be handing it to someone like Dan, but they don't know who Dan is.
Don't say that, because Dan's going to get swamped.
because we did, for example, we did a A&R, it was just a demo drop. We did a demo drop at Dance Fair for Future House Music. And I was doing it, and a couple other artists were doing it, and the two guys who run Future House Music were there too, and they were the ones not getting demos.
Oh,
and
no,
I was
there's actually a really funny story where Lucas and I were standing there, and an artist came up, wanted to talk to Lucas, get him his demo. We're like, and the people of Future House Music were next to us too, and another person who was next to them said to Art, where's the bathroom? I have to go.
Oh, that's so great.
While they were asking Lucas to listen to their tracks, they asked where the toilet was.
Yeah, it's cool.
Art,
it's cool to know who the people are. But
so funny.
To market your music to artists, I think one of the key things is just to have a couple of those assets that I was saying, whether it's the radio show or a podcast or whatever it is that you built up, so that you have those to throw into the conversation.
Yeah, and they might have seen it before and be like, oh, yeah, I do recognize you from that thing that you did. Yeah,
exactly. And a lot of times what'll happen is that they will actually introduce you to their manager at that point and say, you should talk to them. Now you're talking to their manager, you got email connection, you got more stuff going on. But another thing is to not be afraid to just continually put yourself out there, because even with me, people know TEAMMBL, they know that we host events all the time with artists. We've done a label event on Discord with NCS, for example.
That was my first, I don't even know if I...
That was quite early on, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think that I don't think I'd actually officially had my first day then. I think it was the weekend before my first
so
day.
fun.
Thank you for starting my NCS
Yeah,
career.
but there's so many times where people will not respond or say they can't do it, and you have to remember that this does not have any reflection on you. It's not about you're not good enough, because so many times I even got to a point where when I would message an artist who I had worked with in the past many times, I would message them and be like, they're just going to say no.
Yeah.
It's that same thing with the label mentality. And you have to realize it's not because they hate you and they're annoyed with you for asking, because then I would ask that same person a month or two later for a different event and they'd be like, let's go.
Yeah.
So you never know, you know, so you have to be okay with putting yourself out there, have a couple things going on. Radio show is the easiest thing you can do because it will support other artists' music, and every artist needs more supports. If you know anything about 1001 track list, you know, every support counts as a support, helps you move up the track. So even if you're a small radio show on there, you know, you have leverage
some kind of
because
power
people are like, I would love for you to support my track, even the big artists, you know? Yeah.
Amazing. I think that really speaks well, and I'm sure that people can pull a load of information over that. I think before we get to Charlotte's little section at the end, it would be cool to know, like, you've got TEAMMBL, this community where there's so many artists that you're helping out. There's even just like free little bits of information that people can pick up. And then you've got your artist career. You obviously got the film that you're working on at the moment. What do you think the next year and years beyond look like for your guys' journey?
Well,
I think you did sort of mention
I was
it
talking to
earlier,
Dan about it a little bit, but I think it's probably going to be doing the label, which has not happened yet. And it's something very exciting because we have so much talent, which will probably be a multi-genre label. That's what it's looking at right now.
Awesome.
And then doing some like live type of pop-up events since we travel so much. So that's gonna be really exciting. Doing something really cool for the members when we do those live events, like the actual membership members of TEAMMBL. And then I don't know, the future is so exciting.
Yeah, what we usually say is just evolving.
I mean, NFTs, Web3, like I said, the tip of the iceberg. I remember when I first started getting into like learning about like the metaverse and stuff like that, it was very like scary a little bit. Like, oh man, we're at to transfer everything. Now I'm just so excited.
You two are going to be traveling in the metaverse.
Oh yes.
Got to.
Where haven't you been yet that you want to go?
Do we really want to go?
Gosh, so many places.
So
and
many.
like,
Because you've covered quite a lot of the world though, right?
we really have. But we really haven't seen much of like Eastern Europe and stuff, which could be scary at this point, unfortunately. But it's just beautiful over there too, you know. But there's plenty of places we haven't
Never been to Australia. Never been to New Zealand.
Never been there.
There's a lot of places.
Never been to South America.
There's even a lot of places in the United States that we've never been.
Yeah, true. I mean,
there's so
it's
many
just
states.
enormous. Though,
It's
isn't it?
huge.
Yeah.
And everywhere's so different there.
We tried to
and
do
beautiful.
a little bit of it last year because we were like in the U.S. because of like you couldn't really.
we
go
couldn't really
abroad.
travel.
I remember
so
you were doing like sort of local traveling.
Yes.
States to state.
and it was helpful that we were from a country with so much like places
to see.
go.
Yeah.
Do you think that's been a integral part of your careers, is actually the travel and meeting people, or would you say it's just actually that's just where you happen to live?
Well, I would say that it initially helped a lot because when we did the teamwork tour back in 2017 at the end of the year, that's when it was. We got to meet so many artists and so many people, make so many connections physically in person, which I think is so impactful.
It still lasts
So
to
much
this day.
better.
And that's
It
why
still
we tell
lasts to this
people
day.
go to ADE
Yeah.
or, other big events because those connections are what can be in-person connections.
Yeah.
But we totally believe that too. And, we choose countries that we probably know someone there first to meet up with. And meeting in person is so much more impactful than I think online. So I think it's helped a lot. What do you think, Lucas?
No, I think that is the key. And like I said, come to live events, but even come to online events too. Like,
definitely.
One suggestion I also give is if you're truly trying to get close to a community or an artist or whatever, beyond just supporting their track, maybe go on their Discord, be an active person, become a moderator, become someone. It's so people need like moderators and stuff. And I can tell you from our team, like our moderators, we are tight. So like if they came to ADE, we'd be hanging. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And so, but those are all things that you
And
can
people
do.
who comment a lot on our content or
We know who
engage
they
a lot,
are.
we know who they are. And if we were to see them in person, we would feel like we know, like family.
Yeah, for sure.
It's all about connection. It really is all
Yeah.
about connections. Charlotte,
You're special.
Start swinging.
So obviously I told you before about the segment, so it was going to be what NCS track would you listen to whilst in the gym if you went to the gym?
That's a good,
Who are we starting with?
Oh yeah.
I can start today. I don't think I usually
Ooh,
start.
Sam,
Do you want me
let's
to
go.
start? I think I've got a really good one, I have to say. I'm going to do our NCS 10 reveal
say
video. I'm not
Jonathan?
doing Jonathan Rise. I always, I don't know if you know the artist
Yeah.
Jonathan, but I always gone about the track Rise. That's like my bag. No,
Is it
I'm
Haldison?
gonna do Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Why are you speaking like that's a
It's
great
just like
choice.
you've picked those many a time
Yeah, you
before, but you know
recycle
what?
tracks.
Whatever.
Here we go.
You don't right. There we go.
So you're working out to this then.
Yeah.
What
See,
kind of workout are you doing?
This is like the
Are you
80s
lifting?
workout.
Yeah, it feels
I've
like
seen
you-
like
Yeah.
the headbands.
It's the
Yeah,
montage.
yeah.
Silicon like.
It's the
Really,
Rocky
yeah.
montage.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to see me, no one wants to see me in Silicon.
All right. Cool. Who's next?
Ooh.
I would do whatever song Lucas says.
Oh.
You two can do a collab.
Okay.
Okay.
Because we would be at the gym
Honestly,
together.
I think I'm going with that Rapture's drum and bass release.
It was dope.
Okay.
That gets
okay.
me. That was
So this is the one
exciting.
that we played, right?
Yeah, we just played it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll play it very, very quickly.
I'm just trying to get Rapture's track played again.
He's gonna be happy on that one for sure.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I feel like I would have
Running like.
every
Oh,
single
man.
weight on just throwing it up in the air to that tune.
Yeah.
I
Oh my
think
God.
you could do that thing where you like grab weights and throw them. Whatever that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or you do
So-
a really
Dead
intense
of Night
run.
remix.
A big run. What you got?
Dead of Night remix.
Ooh.
Oh,
So,
that's.
Charlotte's confident. The last few episodes we've done. This is no slight to you, Charlotte, but you've been quite unprepared when it comes to choosing the tracks. But that is quick response. She knows. Oh,
Oh, I love this
That's
one.
cool.
Yeah.
If Found, yeah.
yeah, he's great. I love his fans'
Nice.
like, whole brand. I think his brand's really cool.
You know, we're gonna have to. Did you do yours yet?
No, I'm gonna do it now. I had one which I just don't think
expecting
it's
the
gonna
best.
be that good now. But
So we
Um,
put these on the community tab as well. So yeah, you guys can go and drop a vote on the poll of who's.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yes.
whether I've
one.
won this one, but it is Magnus
Ooh.
like this.
Let's
I
hear
did
it.
that last time, but sure.
What was that for?
It was end of set.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh.
This tune's really good.
Ooh.
I was gonna add context to it then, but then I remembered I can't.
Oh yeah, because then you always win.
Yeah.
We only get one life like this.
Ooh. What kind of workout you doing to this? You doing like curls?
Like hip thrust.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
imagine the hip thrust
Yeah.
from you.
Some
Yeah.
serious hip thrusting. I wonder if Magnus wrote like this with intention of
Yeah.
hip thrusting
Yeah.
into the song. Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So go over to the community tab. Let us know who you think had the best song and why it was me, and then we can go. Any little things we spoke about what you've got future plans, but just to wrap it up, any
Yeah.
secrets of tips? You mentioned maybe a label. What's the releases looking like? Anything that you can tease us with?
Oh yeah, a little bit.
Ooh.
And you could also say like what the community is about, like what you do.
Yeah,
like,
because
if someone's
people,
interested
if
in
people don't really know.
Yeah, for sure. Give
TEAMMBL.
yourself a bit of a why they should leave this podcast once they're finished, and then go and check you out.
exactly.
Well, I think TEAMMBL is. I've always wanted it to be a one-stop shop for producers. Like
TEAMMBL.com.
TEAMMBL.com. Not exactly like a shop, but a one-stop place you can go for everything that you're gonna need. And we continue to try to push the barriers
add
with that.
stuff,
From everything with regards, of course, to products. I mean, sounds and graphics, and we always try to do the best of the best. Like when we have like, let's say it's track covers. It's not just like we're trying to. We got like
Yeah.
people to do stuff for the the best, the
And
best,
when-
and we try to
yeah.
do that in a way that any artist can access it.
Awesome.
And when you
Yeah.
see anything on that website, it is specifically curated by Lucas himself.
Yeah,
He is
I do
the
design the
web
entire
designer.
website. Yeah,
So-
I've done that since the beginning because at the time we didn't have enough
Right.
money to hire a web designer, so I started
out of
doing it.
necessity, right?
And
Yeah.
I remember the first site looked absolutely terrible, but I thought it was incredible, and I would show it
Nice.
to people, very proud.
It looks like an early 2000s blog.
Yes.
That's all that matters.
Yes.
You care about it.
Yeah.
Well, I think what you've both built and to this day are still running with is, first of all, really ahead of the curve. We spoke about that before. I think you got in at a time before anyone was even looking at that type of content.
Which is weird because we thought we were super late.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think to this point now, you're doing a great thing, not just for yourselves as growing your own brands, but majorly for the community and the people that you built. So I'm
yeah,
sure
and I
everyone
just
loves it.
want to continue. We just want to continue pushing the mental health side of it too.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
pushing the fact that, again, you don't, I think we always, especially because we're artists, we're perfectionists, we're always comparing our day 1 or our day 500 to like Brooks's day 10,000,
Yeah.
you know? And we're looking at them and going, why don't I have millions of streams? Why don't I have this and this and that? And we're not seeing, you know, first off, comparison's never going to be a good thing. But the other thing is you don't need that to have a successful career. And you could even, like we said before, you don't even need 1,000 super fans. You know, you could honestly, and there's so much to be done out there, and it's just going to get easier and easier. I feel like reels are getting easier to do. I feel like content is becoming more relaxed. I feel like people are becoming more open-minded. Genres are becoming more open. I think COVID really actually like helped a lot in those ways. Like
There's
it
a silver
hurt
lining to it.
temporarily, in shows and some of those things. But the way that it pushed creativity and pushed us to sit there and focus on some of these things, because we were all just like go go go, you know, with like with life. And I feel like there was this hustle culture, and I think now we took a step back and we realized, hey, you know, you don't need to necessarily do hustle culture
That's right.
to succeed. And your success can actually be more valuable that way. You can take things in, you can be more focused, you can have more longevity. I'm just so excited for the future with everything. And I think that's why I'm not, you know, like, here's my exact 5-year plan with bullet points. I'm just like, we are having a really good time. We're helping artists have a really good time. And we're just going to keep doing that.
Yeah,
Lovely.
absolutely.
That sounds fun.
I mean, that is a perfect way to round it off, I think. Thank you both so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
It's been great.
Thanks for having
We
us.
appreciate you
Lovely.
talking. Thank you, everyone, for watching, listening, letting us sit and talk for however long it has been.
However long
Rather than
it's been.
keeping track.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time on Full Circle. Peace.
Bye.